service is usually when I'll be crying in my seat. I couldn't cry up here because y'all can all see me, but if you do that one more time, if you just bring it back one more time, I'm gonna start crying. So come on, bring it back one more time. Thank you. Namaskar. I behold the Spirit in you. Happy Father's Day. You know, if we get a card today, we'll be lucky. We all know that it's really Mother's Day. And they created this so we could stop complaining. The reason I have my father-daughter dance on Father's Day is because the dads are always available. Their families have nothing planned for them, so they can come. I want to introduce you to a couple of people. First of all, that's my father-in-law, Ted Ferguson. Pop-Up, you got to stand up. I've known him for 17 years, and I aspire to be the man that he is each and every day of my life. He is one of the greatest fathers and role models I've ever known. And before I came in today, I've almost made him my honorary father. He said, I was all good with my speech, I was ready for everything. He said, "Your tie's crooked." I said, well, it's supposed to be like this. Then I just realized who it was, and it's Pop-Up, so I took it off and let him tie it. You've always been there for me. You've been there for the family. And then he said to me today on Father's Day, "Thank you for all that you've done for us." He said that to me. I should be saying that to you. And I know it's hard for men to say this, but I love you, man. All right. Thank you. And then there's, thank you, Pop-Pop. You want to come up? And then there's, of course, my wife of 14 years, Keisha Cameron. Stand up, honey. He told me, as I changed clothes for the third time this morning, you are in the hottest room in the house. You're going to be musty by the time you get to the church if you don't come out of there. Just always making sure that I'm on the right path, and I love you, and I never look back. And I just want to say this for the whole church. If you leave me, I'm going with you. So when you pack your suitcase, pack mine. And then there's my 16-year-old, Ryan Megan. That's my shopping partner. Boy, we like to shop. We came back from New York, and the bill came, and my wife said, I don't remember you buying me a blouse that cost this much. And I said, that's Ryan's blouse. And she said, it's a lot. And I said, we was in New York, we was shopping. I love you. Teenage years, woo. I only had one gray beard hair, then she turned 16, and they just started calling for reinforcements. Then there's my middle, Kai. Stand up, Kai. Who was a true Scorpio. As you see, she didn't want to stand up. Oh, Dad, really? That's my fashion coordinator. I called her and I said, what do you think? She used to always tell me, do you want to kill him or do you want to kill him? I said, I think I want to kill him. So hey, what you think? And then there's the baby, Kaden. Who remembers everything. Everything. We always talk about, right when we get inside Hillside, I told Dr. Barber my favorite moment is when we're all quiet. And I can hear the, if you listen right now, you hear that humming. That's the air conditioning unit, right? So that's my favorite time. And then Dr. Barber said, oh, I got to get that fixed. I said, no, don't get it fixed. I said, that's my favorite time. Because my son says, that is the time we can see how the church feels. You listen. If you don't feel good, you're going to hear, right? Then you, all right? So now watch. Now from now on, y'all be like, well, the church don't feel good today. So you need to know if you need to go home and take a cold ease or a Theraflu. All depends on how the church is feeling. Today, just allergies, we all right. Only heard a couple of coughs. But he says, that's how we can tell. It's my been blessed water right here. Because I have been blessed to be a father. It is the greatest job I've ever had. My son wrote a letter and says, why dads are great. He said, dads are awesome. They're always there for you. You can always count on your dad to be there for you no matter what. Another great attribute in dads is that you can tell them anything. They're always, and I mean always, listening to you. And there's not a problem that they won't give you a solution or a tip to help solve it. A great thing about dads is that they will wait forever for you. One of my favorite things about dads are the humor. They use humor in so many ways to pick you up when you're down, to make you feel better, to make you happy, and sometimes just to make you laugh. And one of the most important things about dads is how much they sacrifice for kids. They could go and buy cars and tons of clothes, etc., but instead they use that money to pay for your school, your tuition, your sports. This shows you how much they really care. Dads are great, and no two dads are exactly the same, but one thing is for sure. You're guaranteed to love your dad. The end. And Kaden wrote that. I learned about the importance of fatherhood probably a little later on. I'd already had 2 kids. We were on a trip. You might have been to Disney World. You know, I think that the Hillside family is very much like Disney. Even back when we had our pre-church prayer, that spirit. And I remember meeting Roy Disney one time, and I said, I want to ask you something. He says, I already know. I said, no, you don't. He says, yeah, I do. I said, okay, what do I want to ask you? He said, you want to ask me, why are the people at Disney World so nice? And I was like, how did you know that? He said, because everybody wants to know that. And I think the same could be true about the people here at Hillside. Why are the people at Hillside so nice? Because Hillside is nice people. It's real simple. That spirit, that energy, it's what we have here together. And we were on this trip, and it was perfect. Nothing could go wrong. We had a babysitter and all the kids, and we saw the rides and the attractions and got ready to leave and went through, back then, you had to take your shoes off still, and I had my shoes and my iPod and my hat and all kinds of stuff. We got on the tram. There's a tram that takes you from Orlando to the main part of the building. And I got on the tram, and we all counted off. It was packed. And somebody said, Ryan, I'm here. Kai, here. Mommy, here. Daddy, here. Caden. 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 And we couldn't find him. And then the doors of the train closed. And as the doors of the train closed and it pulled away, he was standing on the platform. And he was looking at me. He wasn't looking at anybody else. He was looking at me. And it wasn't like he was scared or afraid. He looked disappointed. And as we all panicked and we were yelling and screaming, trying to get him to stop the train, it takes 5 minutes to get down there, 5 minutes to get back. When we got back, the police were standing there with him from Disney World. And he said, oh, this happens all the time. He did. And I said, it's no longer about me. What I learned that no one was going to take responsibility for me or give me a pass as a father. And every December 14th, he doesn't remember that. He remembers everything else. He doesn't remember that day. No matter what I'm doing, if it's the middle of the week, if it's the weekend, I take that day off and I spend the day with him to let him know that I don't want to disappoint him ever again. My relationship with my father was not the best. And I think one of the themes that I talked about in the program was like how a bad father can make a good father. Sometimes we're so angry with our father because we want them so much that we never can forgive them. But being able to forgive is really the point of being a father. Because if you are holding a grudge against somebody who doesn't even know what the grudge is about, it's like you swallowing poison, hoping it's gonna kill them. And the whole entire time, your insides are being eaten alive. And you mad at them, and they going on about their lives. And you holding a grudge. My father was substance abuser. Alcohol was his earthly spirit. The opposite of our spirit. It was the earthly spirit that he loved. And when he finally came out of it, he realized that he had pretty much drank his life away. He was 64, and I loved him, but I was mad at him at the same time because he was never there to answer the questions that boys need to ask men. And if you are a father and you mad at somebody there's a boy or a young lady somewhere who wants to ask a question that you need to be able to answer. And my father was very stubborn. I was raised by stubborn men. That's probably why it took me so long to get married. Because I believed it's supposed to be one way or the other way. I was raised by older guys. And my grandfather, Ray, he was the kind of person that would let you argue. He had a whole house arguing, and all of a sudden he'd say, "Now that's it now." He didn't even know what the argument was about, but he just had to show he was in charge. Now, I mean that. Everybody would get quiet. And my other grandfather was the same way, so I thought that was going to be the kind of woman I was going to find. Well, needless to say, I was engaged 3 times. Because women was like, "Who told you that? That's foolish. I'm not doing that." Stop, be quiet, and that's it. As the young folks say, "You got me mixed up, buddy." When my first grandfather transitioned, my other grandfather, who was already irritable, got tired of people thinking that it was him. So he would answer the phone would ring, and he said, "Wasn't me." No sympathy, no sorry for your loss, "Wasn't me," and hang up the phone. I learned that my love for my father remained even though I did not have the greatest relationship. When I went into the place where he transitioned, I began to weep. And I don't mean cry. I mean weep, as in uncontrollable. And it was so overwhelming. I said, "My God, I love this man so." And I always want my children, and I say this to dads that are in the room, let your children see your emotions. One of the things that we have going on right now, they are so busy trying to be hard and be tough and be respected, they don't understand how important it is to cry, because that is the cleansing of the soul, of the spirit. I remember the actress Felicia Rashad, who I'm sure you all know as the Cosby Mama. She asked me once, and I'll ask you, do you remember every tail whipping you ever got? Not every one of them. You remember some of the best ones. You know what you did to get that one. And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, do you remember every harsh thing someone you loved has ever said to you?" And I said, "Yeah, like it's happening right now." You remember everything, somebody that loved you, that it just went into your soul. It was like they hit you. So I tell the dads and the moms, choose the words carefully. Don't repeat the errors of your parents because it's convenient, because it's still wrong. I think that we have to first forgive the misgivings of our parents, because all they did was do the best they could with what they knew. And I think that a lot of times we say, "Well, my mama did this, or my mama did that," but that's all they knew. There is no, has anybody seen the parent handbook? Because I need a copy. We learn from experience, and sometimes you got to remember this. When you look at your children, you're looking in a mirror. And I think that's the part that bothers us the most. I'm not the greatest. I heard all the wives giving tribute to all the husbands. Now, I'm not the greatest handyman, I must admit. Won't nobody be calling me over to plant no gardens, or fix no washing machines. They'll call me to call somebody, because I know people who do that. When I talk about the reflection, there was a copperhead in our neighbor's driveway. Now, I do a lot of things. I don't do snakes. Now, even though it was in the whole house next door, it was like he was in my driveway. So my wife said, "Go get the snake away." and make sure that the snakes don't come over here. And so I'm walking around, and, you know, snake away it's a powder. So I'm spraying the powder, and, you know, the bushes are there and the roses, and I'm shaking it, but it's getting all over everything. I'm not very good. And I'm trying to say, well, maybe the sprinklers will come on and wash it off. And when I finish, my son is outside, and I said, well, what do you think? And him, being a reflection of me, said, well, we won't have to worry about no snakes in the roses. You know, I was like this, and I wanted to just, ah! But I said, he's me. It sounds like something I would say. That wit that you talked about earlier, that he has that wit. One day, he was getting out to go to baseball, and he slammed the door. And I said, boy, you almost hit me. He said, I almost hit you. Ooh. Ooh. Give me strength, God. I want it. Boy, I tell you what. Oh, man. We got to teach our children to love their fathers unconditionally, ladies. Because the impact on the life is irreplaceable. So even when we're mad at the dad, keep those words inside. It's so easy. He ain't nothing. He didn't give you a dime. He's worthless. It manifests itself. And they believe that. You got to spread the good along with the other things. You know, I have a challenge for the fathers. We have to stand up and stand tall in our child's life. We can no longer be unnoticed or unheard. We have to be present in the schools. Sometimes you go to the school and all you see is moms. You never see the dads. And when I first started going to my child's school, it was like they had seen a purple dinosaur. They was all on the intercom. There's a dad in here. There's a dad in here. We have a spiritual king. We call him God. There's also an earthly king. We call him Dad. He's supernatural because to your child, we are the candles that make daylight out of darkness. We're the answer to hardship. We're the answer to leadership. We are the Batman, the Superman, the Spider-Man. And dads, sometimes as they come at our children with the tricks and the treason and the treachery, if you are the father of a daughter, you are the best man. Because we have to treat our daughters with respect so they will demand respect. We have to treat them with grace so they will demand graceful treatment. We have to treat them with honor so their treatment will be honorable. And we have to give the best in us so that when that young man comes along singing a song and whispering a tune, she can look him in the eye and say, you must be suffering from economic Alzheimer's because you must have forgot that I'm a lady and my daddy was a man. Our voices and influence are way more meaningful than the material things can provide. You know, you can have all the stuff in the world, but everybody always talks about that relationship they wish they had with their father. So we got to stand up and stand tall. We got to put in that time, that blood, that sweat, those tears to make sure that our presence and love is felt by our children. And when nothing seems to help, as I heard moms talk about the teenage stuff in those years, you got to go and imagine the stone cutter, right? He's hammering away at the rock, perhaps 100 times without as much as a crack showing. Yet, at the 101st blow, it splits in two. And then you know that it was not that blow that did it, but all that had come before. So as you're telling your child over and over, you're teaching your child, they may be, blowing it off, but when it finally comes through, it's because you struck all of the other 100 blows. As Malachi 4:6 states, we must give our hearts to our children, and they must turn our heart to us. Before I leave, I want everybody to understand that we must honor our fathers unconditionally. And even though I made a joke about it at first, when I first got up here, we just want to be acknowledged. We don't want a lot. Just say, you know what? I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you stuck by us. I'm glad you're a provider. You don't have to find it in the Hallmark. You got to say it. I have at least 30 text messages from people wishing me happy Father's Day. I wish that the text message had never been invented, because that means I would have had 30 phone calls. So if you have a dad that you know that's in your life, don't text him. Call him. Just want to call and tell you I love you. Happy Father's Day. Let me speak to Mom. My name is Ryan Cameron. I love y'all. Namaskar, Hillside.